So it is suggested that unconditional love is not even a millimeter away from anyone or anything. It's not lost. It's not found. It's not separate. Therefore, it's not anywhere. Not separate. It's not a thing. No it to be named. Unconditional love is a word or two words. But the suggestion is that this unconditional love is totally, well, by being unconditional, boundless, totally dimensionless, absolutely without limitation whatsoever. Could never be found, could never be lost, could never be hidden or secret, could never be moved towards or away from, can't be strived towards, can't be offended or defended, can't be anything, and yet is absolutely everything. So this boundlessness is totally all encompassing. It knows no limitation. It can become, it can seem to become, it can seem to be anything. There's no real becoming because there's no real time, but it can seem to appear as whatever is happening. And what can also seem to appear is a sense that something is missing, a sense that something is lost. A sense of separation is how that seems to appear. A sense that this freedom that I long for, that I strive for, yearn for, hope for, can be made progress towards. I can do things. The separate sense would seem to feel like unconditional love can be known, can be found, can be revealed. But the separate sense is unconditional love too, of course. Unconditional love being everything is not separate from anything. So even the appearance of separation is unconditional love too. And the appearance of separation can seem to feel like something is lacking or missing. Something's something's without the sense of completion or wholeness. But the but that is just simply freedom. It would seem to be freedom in disguise, or freedom feeling to be not free, confined, constrained, restrained, restricted, contracted, or concentrated. Sort of the felt sense of separation. And somehow or other, that felt sense of separation seems to be also felt as very personal. It feels like a very personal energy when there's the sense of that being paired up with the body, a human body. It feels like it's about me, that I am separate, I am a real person, and I am having a body, I'm owning a body, I'm owning other things are owned by me to some extent, and I relate to everything that I know and am separate from. And this is the way in which the individual experience seems to appear, the sense of individuality, the sense of separation, with that coming sense of knowing, relating, and owning. And it also seems to feel as though there's doing happening with my body and with my mind, my heart, my personality, my characteristics. I will choose how to be, how to live, how to think, breathe, speak, feel, and so on. It feels like a personal energy that is navigating the body, and this is illusory. It's insubstantial. There's no real individual located in a body. This is a grand exposure that does not involve the separate self-experience, because there isn't a separate self-experience to involve already. The unconditional love that is seemingly sought for in objects, possessions, people, activities, is never found in separation. It simply is not separate already. So the longing would seem to be a sort of apparently existential and impersonal longing for freedom. But there's no real longing. There's no real longing. There is only what's longed for, which is everything that's happening already, not really separate. Looking for what's appearing to happen just seems to confirm that there's a separation between someone and something, but there is no real subject and object to be separate already. So looking is immediately what's appearing to happen. There's no real looked for and looker. There's just looking appearing to happen. There's just seeking appearing to happen, craving and resisting and hoping appearing to happen on behalf of no one already. And it's looking for something that isn't even happening in a way. It's looking for what is happening, and it's looking for what isn't happening. It's looking for a thing that isn't a thing, everything. So it's no thing and everything. So it never finds that. The looking apparently stops, and the stopping of the looking is an illusion too, of course. The apparent end of the seeking energy is an illusory end of something that's not real. But the exposure points out that what is longed for, what you're looking for, what you're striving for in every single direction, or perhaps one single direction, is already everything. And this would seem to be obvious when the whole sense of seeking energy just collapses. But again, it can never be said enough that the whole sense of the seeking collapsing, the whole sense of me going after something never really happens, and no one's around to know about that anyway. So no one's going to recognize that there's no one to find freedom. There just is freedom already, boundless. So there's no process for that. There's no process towards or away from that, because it's already immediately, freely what's happening for no one and no reason. Timeless, therefore directionless, freedom. So even if wanting is happening, then wanting is what's longed for. If seeking is happening, then seeking is what's longed for. If resisting is what's happening, that's what's longed for. If hoping for something else is what's happening, that's what's longed for. There is only what's longed for. It's everything. It's totally everything that's happening. All apparent things, which is nothing at all. Doesn't need to be solved, doesn't need to be fixed, changed, doesn't need to be anything. It is already everything, and yet nothing at all. So unconditional love is not even a millimeter away. There is no away. There is only home.
Recording in progress. Hello. It's funny to notice how this raw exposure, no prescription at all, which is there, is always in a way taken as a subtle prescription. When there is a seeking energy, there's a seeming the way it is perceived is like okay, everything is what is, there is a slight prescription. There can't be that, there's always this, it doesn't match. I mean, the two possibilities never really meet in a way, because there's always a prescription in this. Oh, okay, that's it, so I got it, or it's never a description. Whereas when there's no seeking energy, it's just what is, and full stop. But when there is the seeking energy, it's not full stop. It's never full stop. There is a subtle prescription. It seems to, there's a looking for or something to get to. You can't help it. I mean, it's.
Well, it might imagine that there is, but there isn't a prescription.
Yeah.
Description.
Energetically, I mean, there is this.
Yeah, a sense that everything is all right. Therefore, I can just relax.
Exactly. There is something, there is.
Yeah, there's already no you. Yeah. No one to prescribe anything.
But it's palpable, this prescription, like becoming thing.
Mm.
It's never it, ever.
Yeah. The apparent collapse of a dream, which is illusory, is the apparent end of all sense of anything ever being prescribed at all. And any need for prescriptions and instructions and teachings and advice, anything at all, just simply what is. Yeah.
Well, I will say something stupid, but I remember when there was no sense of sleeping, it was so obvious that there was always that and nothing else. And then, so the contrast is quite obvious,
Hmm.
seemingly.
And what that separate experience can't comprehend is that that separate experience is just as much freedom as anything else. So even the absence of that sense is it's total freedom already, because it's not separation between two states either. So there's no comparison. There would seem to be a contrast, but the contrast is only viewed by the separate experience because it's seeing two different things, two states, one called absence, one called presence.
Presence, exactly. It can't be her.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Could it be said that there is no relations at all? Funny, as I write the question, it seems insignificant, but I'll ask anyway. So, yeah, relativity is the illusion in a way. Relativity in the sense of separation. So, relation is separation. It requires at least two separate positions to relate to one another. So, when it said that time is relative, if that is what Einstein said, it was seemingly exposed or discovered that time is something I relate to. So even time and space and concepts, beliefs, opinions, everything as an object I relate to. And other people, although it might not like to hear this, but other people, as long as I'm separate, I'm a real separate self, separate from other people, I relate to them as objects as well. Everything is objectified by a separate experience, subject object polarity. So, yes, relation in that sense, relativity is separation, and there isn't really any separation or relativity. There is only absolute freedom, which appears as relative, of course. There's no real separation between relativity and absolute, but relativity would seem to be totally insubstantial. When there's no sense of separation, again, when, let's just hold on to that word loosely. But when there's no sense of separation, there's no sense of a position relating to another, there's only immediacy. So talking is immediacy, listening is immediacy, there's no closer or further away. What it can't seem to comprehend is that this position is a felt sense of distance. So if someone is saying something, it's felt as distant from me. And when I start to say something, that's still distant from me, but it seems to be closer. There's no real closer or further. So listening and talking are equally distanceless freedom. There's the appearance of ears and there's the appearance of hearing, and there's the appearance of clouds in a sky. But without a subject, there's no sense that the clouds or the sounds or anything is at a distance from anyone or anything else. Now, that doesn't really make any sense as far as a separate experience is concerned, because there surely has to be a position for those things to be perceived. but there's no perceiving anything. There's just perceiving happening. It's indescribable and incomprehensible, that there's no real distance, there's no real separation. Clouds, sounds, ears, talking, seat, it's all distanceless freedom. It's all what's appearing immediately. There's no real in between. There's no real close and far.
And it's also mysterious, and that some actions are taken to be mine. Like, I raise my hand, but I don't do my digestive system. I mean, where does it where does it end, or what is it?
Yeah, yeah.
Funny how it's all, it's really mysteriously wondrous. And
Well, I can say one thing about that from, an from the
mm,
anatomical perspective, the body, has the autonomic nervous system, and that seems to oversee a grand amount of the functions, if not most of the functions of the body. And they do sort of suggest that that is with with the belief that there is free will, of course. They seem to suggest that most of that is completely out of anyone's control. That would include things like the heartbeat, the digestive system, the cells, the hair follicles, the nails, etc. Skin tone as well, of course, and eye color, things like that. And the somatic nervous system, I think, if I remember rightly, is the one part of the body that is believed to be in control by someone, and that's muscular. That's like the muscular, the movements, the flexion, extension, rotation, and things like this. These are the things that are believed to be in control by someone. So the somatic nervous system is the part in which is believed to be under someone's control. And the illusion is that even that isn't in anyone's control.
yeah, and exactly. And how come some actions are mine and some are not? It's not, it doesn't even make sense in a way. If you
Well,
think 5 minutes about it, it just doesn't make sense at all. That I dropped the glass, and then, oh, I could take it, and then, oh shit, why
mm,
my
mm,
like clumsy. So it doesn't make sense really. It just happens, and the sense of ownership comes late at the party. I would
mm,
say,
mm.
always late to the party. So
Well, it
it's
seems
yeah,
it seems to develop out of the sense of awareness. That's how it seems to develop. The sense of control seems to be interpreted out of the sense that someone's aware of what's happening. And when that awareness sense seems to strengthen, this is how it seems to be, and I welcome anyone to criticize or challenge it. But when that awareness seems to be really sort of felt and strong, it feels like more now than ever are things in control. The things that I am aware of, basically the things I am in control of to some extent, maybe not grossly, but subtly so. The more aware I am, the more in control I am, because that's what mindfulness teaches. This is what the mindfulness teachings sort of instruct,
or,
that the more aware you become, the more in control you are. It might not seem to feel that way necessarily, but as long as there's a sense of awareness, there's a sense that the one who is aware is the one that is influencing the circumstances of life.
or at least controlling, and it's just
Yeah, influencing,
negotiating.
controlling, and and self-abidance is the most sort of extreme, in a way, it seems to be the most extreme example of a sense of wanting to be in control, because then you're just constantly remaining in this state of being aware of being aware of being aware. It goes on and on forever. And in that seems to be like everything seems to be watched by me and somehow or other, subtly or grossly controlled by me. And as though that whole dream of awareness and distance collapses, it's so obvious that everything is running by itself. Everything, the hand gestures, the facial expressions, the tone of voice, the movements of the body, whether they're bowel movements or muscular movements, it's like everything is totally free flowing aliveness, even though there's no one to be alive or dead, and there's no time. So there's not even a sense of a flow in a direction. There's just total spontaneity. no control whatsoever. And because there's no awareness, there's no distance. And
Mm,
so what would be controlling anything else? The control in that sense absolutely depends on separation.
exactly. And also, I think it feels that the more we've the contracted location, whatever awareness uh, seems to be present, the more we are afraid. This is also the counterpart we want to control, because otherwise we feel very vulnerable. The more we are, the sense of self consciousness uh, is really feels isolated in a way. So it needs to relate and control and own or know, just to be secure in a way, just in survival mechanism, which is completely illusory, of course, which is not, it's not even there to be alive anyway, but
Yeah.
seems
It's a survival mechanism for its own sake, and yet it's not even required for anything. It's absolutely useless. Yeah. It would like to perhaps convince itself in a dream that it's necessary for the survival of the body, so it thinks that it can, so that it thinks it's important somehow. And rather sadly, it's exposed that it was never needed for anything. But it's not needed to go away either. It's not, it's not a hindrance. So, and it might like to think that too, like, oh, my contracted energy is a bad thing. So, I need to go away so that the body can run more smoothly or efficiently. That's just another story that, that, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
no,
Without contraction, it can also be very vulnerable. Mm. I mean, yes, in the sense that the body can still obviously get injured and sick and old and weary and whatnot. No control at all, absolutely. It's so liberating, it just can't even be described. Liberation without condition, without contradiction, without real anything, without any need, no need for control, no one to be in control. It's like it's so boundless and free, it's absolutely indescribable. I mean, the revelation that no one's in control, how liberating that is, cannot possibly be described. And the whole need for control being totally unnecessary, and yet there was never a need for control because there was never any control for there to be a need. And therefore the sense that someone is in control doesn't need to be controlled either or navigated. It's absolutely just unconditional love all over.
I seem to be the only one speaking today, but just wanted to share that even with the sense of a located self, uh, sitting here with the without prescriptions, it really feels home,
Mm,
not in a way. No, absolute.
yeah, basking.
It's just, yeah, the absence of prescription is freedom.
Am I going to Brussels? Yes. I'll be in December. I think it's the third or fourth weekend of December, 20th to the 22nd, something like that.
Are there still places left?
Yeah, there hasn't been many bookings actually yet. So
Probably I also come.
yeah, do. It'd be lovely to see you again, Anita.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
yes,
would be.
and it's a nice group there. It's really,
Yeah,
and it's a wonderful place. I've been there before in the house of Talia and her husband or friend.
yeah. I'm very excited to be hanging out with them. Yeah.
Mhm.
Not as much as that.
Some seem to suggest to get out of the head and feel, but would that be the same in a way? No, no. It's an instruction. It would seem to be similar to self-inquiry and mindfulness teachings, which is nothing wrong with that. But there is no one in the head already. There's no one in the heart. There's no one anywhere. There's feelings, sensations, thoughts, and perceptions seeming to appear, but they're not really appearing on behalf of anyone, and no one owns them. Thoughts are not a problem, they're not a hindrance, they're not an obstacle. They're just simply thoughts happening. There's no sense that anything is an obstacle because there's no separation for there to be boundaries and hurdles to get past. So whether body wants to feel what it's feeling or stay in the head or whatever, there's already no control, and none of it is actually problematic, really. The suggestions or the instructions to get out of the head and to feel like to ground down to the soles of the feet, for example. Well, that might seem to provide physiological benefits, but if it's used as some sort of spiritual teaching, it's just leading a sense of self to believe that it's in control and that it can move steadily towards some sort of destination, which is illusory. It would also seem to suggest that freedom isn't yet, but that it one day will be. I have been telling the story that I want to follow my heart, but it is all BS. Yeah, the heart doesn't need to be followed. It's already free. And there is no I that has a heart. It's just heart.
Alexis, would you say that here and awareness are equal?
Here,
Here, here, the sense of here,
hmm.
looking as and in the body, and awareness are equal.
Well, out of the sense of here seems to appear the sense of awareness, yeah. The sense of being here means that there's a sense of there that I am not. So the sense of here is the sense of I am here. There's this inseparable. And because I'm here, I'm not there. I'm not wherever there is.
But there is a subject object, so it's awareness.
Yeah,
We could
awareness would seem to be the bridge between the two, the position and the distance. Here and there, I am.
imagined bridge, right? The imagined
Oh,
bridge.
totally. Yes,
Yeah.
totally illusory. Yeah, the illusory bridge is the awareness dream. Yeah. It would seem to be a misinterpretation. That's how it seems to be. It's like the body is interpreting that there's a sense of here, therefore there's a sense of there, and because there's a here and a there, therefore there's an awareness of the there. Perhaps even a sort of subtle sense of awareness of here, but it's all completely not real. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's no distance, no separation. There's no awareness because there's nothing to be aware of anything else. Everything is simply immediate. So it's all freedom. everything. Only freedom. On no one's terms, rules, laws, conditions. Unconditional freedom. Absolutely everything. Never lost, never found, never revealed, never discovered, never hidden, never secret, never anything other than what is and is not. Total, absolute, unconditional freedom. Everything. No need to honor it. No need to run away from it. There is no real avoidance or distance for there to be a relationship with freedom. Only freedom. Everything. No distance, just freedom. Thank you all. Much love.